A time for learning, reflection, celebration, and importantly, for listening. It is time to recognize the deep histories, contributions, cultures, and resilience of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples across this land we now call Canada. Here in Canmore, we are enriched by Indigenous presence, creativity, and leadership. As a community, we have much to learn and unlearn as we continue the path of reconciliation. This month reminds us that reconciliation is not a single act, but a continuous journey that calls for humility, respect, and action. And with that, in the spirit of truth and reconciliation, I acknowledge that we are gathered in the heart of Treaty 7 territory of Southern Alberta. This land is home to the Blackfoot Confederacy, consisting of the Siksika, Kainai, and Piikani First Nations, also the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and our most adjacent Indigenous neighbors, the Stoney Nakoda, comprised of the Bearspaw, Goodstoney, and Chiniki First Nations. Further, we are located within the Rocky View Métis District within the Battle River Territory. The town of Canmore is committed to working to live in right relations and to advance truth and reconciliation as we acknowledge the many Indigenous peoples whose footsteps have marked these lands for generations. I am grateful for the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. And I just wanted to share with you something that I heard the other day, if I can put my finger on it here, and that is Canada didn't create the treaties. The treaties created Canada. Okay, so now we'll turn to our agenda. Any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, I will move that we approve the agenda for the June 3rd, 2025 regular meeting of council as circulated. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, to the public hearing. I call to order the public hearing for Bylaw 2025-06. The purpose of this bylaw is to create a direct control district for Site 7, commonly known as the Moustache lands. The public hearing will proceed as follows. After I provide this introduction, administration will provide a summary of the matter under consideration to set a context for the hearing. Council will have opportunity to ask questions of administration after their presentation. Then I will invite members of the public to speak. There will be an opportunity for council to ask questions of clarification after each speaker presents. And once anyone present who wishes to speak has done so, the municipal clerk will provide the names who provided written submissions. Then council will again have opportunity to ask questions of administration before the public hearing is closed. And with that, let's move to administration's presentation. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Nice to be here with you again this morning. So as mentioned, this is the revised land use bylaw amendment 2025-06 for the Moustache lands. So I'll just go over briefly, high level, what we talked about a couple of weeks ago. So some background on this project is it has the affordable housing commitment. So the province transferred the Moustache lands to the town in 2023 with the condition that affordable housing be developed with construction to begin by the end of 2025. The land use approach for this parcel of land, a direct control district is proposed to allow for 250 to 350 residential units that will be affordable housing, local serving commercial uses, a central public plaza, and it's guided by the Palliser Trail area structure plan. Alignment with the Palliser Trail ASP, so emphasizes affordability, energy efficiency, near net zero buildings, and livability. Encourages pedestrian-oriented design, public spaces, and no minimum parking requirements. Up on the screen is just a location for reference. And the recommendations before council today, that council gives second reading to the revised land use bylaw amendment 2025-06 Moustache lands following the public hearing, and that council give third reading, that council give third reading to a revised land use Development Bylaw Amendment 2025-06 Mustache Lands. I think I combined those two. Sorry about that. And now we'll be open for any questions if you have any.
Great, thank you very much for that refresher. Looking to council to see if there are any questions. Nope, I think we've got it. Thank you. Oh, wait, Councillor Graham, go ahead.
5 days of informality to hear, I understand. I'm wondering, daycares and liquor stores can be how far apart?
I'm not 100% certain on that regulation off the top of my head.
Morning, Mr. Schneider.
Mr. Schneider?
Sorry, could the councillor please repeat the question?
I'm sorry. How far does a liquor store need to be from a daycare?
I don't think we have a setback regulation.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks. Any other questions? Okay, I don't see any. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So, this brings us to the public verbal submissions. Council would like to hear from everyone who wishes to speak today. In that spirit, we'll be enforcing a 5-minute time limit on presentations, not including time for questions from council. We'll be using a countdown timer to help us stay on track. If you plan to speak, you should be aware that you will appear on the live web stream of this hearing and that the recording of this web stream is published online. While you are speaking, we ask that you direct your comments to council and limit your comments to the subject of the public hearing. Council will be given the opportunity to ask questions of clarification after each presenter has finished speaking. We ask that speakers and members of the gallery join council in supporting the rights of everyone to be treated with dignity, fairness, and respect. That includes not responding with cheering or admonishing, as such will impact the feeling of safety of others who may wish to speak either for or against. As chair, I will intervene if necessary to uphold these principles. Now I'll open the floor to speakers. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this bylaw today? I will ask the question again. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to the bylaw? Mr. Matthew, welcome to council. Please share with us your perspective. The microphone is yours.
Sure. My name is Christopher Matthew. I'm the Executive Director of Canmore Community Housing. I've been along this journey since its called inauguration with the team putting together a proposal, and I just want to speak in favor of this development. I think as a aligned housing provider here in the Bow Valley, this suits the needs of a lot of our, well, current, future, and people like myself even, who would like to have a place here. So I just want to speak in favor of this bylaw today.
Thank you very much for sharing your perspective today.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, welcome.
Hi.
Oh, if
Hello,
you can just
everyone.
move the microphone down and point towards you there. There we go. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad that we'll be having more affordable housing in Canmore. I really support that, but my concern is about the no minimum requirement for parking, for the number of parking stalls. I think it's great that we want to be more sustainable, and it would be nice if everybody could ride their bike or walk, et cetera, for a lot of reasons in a lot of ways. However, that's not reality here. So where do we begin when, like, supposing there are 300 cars there for a variety of reasons, or maybe only 200. What do we tell people? You can move in providing you don't have a car, or if we ask them, if they ask, like, where am I supposed to put my car?
Thank you very much for sharing your perspective. I will note that no minimum doesn't mean that there isn't any. There will be parking. It's just it will be determined through the development permit process, how much parking would be needed on site. So just so you know, there will be parking. The amount will be determined at a future date. And if you could just provide your name to the clerk's office. Yeah, that's okay. Do you want the, you got a pad there? Okay. Sure. Anyone else wishing to speak to this bylaw? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Hyde, do you have access to the written submissions right now, or? Sure.
Register.
It's just this one.
Submissions?
It's just this person
Okay.
here. We've had one written submission that was also circulated on Friday from Kayla Weber? Weller, sorry, Kayla Weller. It doesn't say in favor or opposed, but just thoughts that she would like to voice.
Great, thank you very
Yeah.
much. All right then, unless there's any other questions that have risen for council, okay, I will then I will now close the public hearing. So thank you to those who participated and for being here today. We're now going to move directly to item G1, which is the second reading of this matter. And so we have received a presentation, actually a couple of presentations to date. Oh, yes, Dr. Cotto?
Sorry, Mayor Crowser, we're just having a problem with the live stream, and it may help, yeah, I was gonna, anyway, it may help if we could take a break to
Sure.
just be able to turn everything off and start it again. Sorry
Sure.
about that.
All right, you'll probably be, we'll come back at 9:20 unless we're not ready yet, and then we'll, okay, thanks. Okay, we're back. All right. Okay, so now we're on to item G1, which is the revised land use bylaw amendment 2025-06 Mustache Lands Direct Control District. I will first see if council has any questions before I put a motion on the table. Seeing none, I move the council give second reading to revised land use, Councillor Faubert?
Is this when I bring a motion?
Pardon?
I have a motion?
Yeah, so I'll make the second reading and then you can bring
Okay.
your motion, yeah. So I move that council give second reading to revise land use development bylaw amendment 2025-06, Mustache Lands. And Councillor Faubert, you have a motion. The floor is yours.
I do. My motion is that council remove liquor stores, maximum 150 square meters from discretionary uses in the Mustache Lands Direct Control District. I don't know, I did send the motion in advance. It's very simple. I have it, it's just. It won't go on the screen, okay. My reasoning for this is, while it is a discretionary use, I wondered if it's even worthwhile to have it as that, given that we already have 19 liquor stores in Canmore, plus every distillery and microbrewery that is located in Canmore also sells bottles and cans of their amazing products, which they should, but when I'm thinking about the future of the Palliser area and the community that we're building there, I'm not sure that this is what I envision, and I would rather see daycares and playgrounds and other uses, so I just wanted to put it out there and see if I could convince my colleagues to support it, and thank you for letting me put this forward.
Thank you, Councillor. Before asking for, if anyone would like to speak to the amending motion, just wondering how we are with, is it likely that we'll get it up on the screen? Yes. Okay, all right. Okay. Essentially, though, Councillor Faubert, it's simply deleting liquor stores from under discretionary uses?
Yes, just the removal of one discretionary use in the district, and that's the extent of what I was looking for.
Okay. In speaking to the amending motion, Councillor Merrill.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to support this. I don't see having liquor stores listed as a need, and it could be used for other useful things that would accommodate that area. So I'm happy to support.
Thank you. Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Your Worship. I too will be happy to support this one, Councillor Faubert. I think, daycares are personally my priority, especially in that neighborhood. And while there may not be a setback to there probably should be. I would much rather have that daycare use than a liquor store use in that neighborhood. So, thank you.
Councillor Ma.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Faubert, for bringing this suggested motion forward. I can support this. With regards to removing liquor stores as a discretionary use in the Mustache lands here, I don't think that's a big sacrifice, especially given that the size of the remaining Palliser lands are quite large and we'll be having other commercial opportunities. And for this first project happening right here, I think it's a great idea. So thank you.
Councillor Hillstadt.
I will be happy to support. As already been stated, we got a lot of them, so this area probably doesn't even need one. And again, it's a discretionary use, so there still may never have been one, but this just makes it very clear that there won't be. So happy to support.
Great. And yes, and thank you very much to our IT department and our municipal clerk working in the background to try to tame our technology and getting that up on the screen. I would note also that this is just for this direct control district. It's not making any decisions on anywhere else. And I always thought that we had a high number of liquor stores per capita. I didn't realize we had 19. So thank you for that information. All right, I will call the question then on the amending motion. All those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Now we're back to the main motion for second reading. Are there any other amending motions that anyone would like to make? Okay, so speaking to the main motion, then I will support this motion. I'm very excited about this project moving forward in alignment with the activities also that Canmore Community Housing is moving forward within the area. Between this project and Canmore Community Housing Project, it's going to make a significant dent in the amount of housing that we need on the rental side. We won't be there yet, but we will certainly take a huge step forward. And so I support this work, I support this project, and I support this direct control district being created. Councillor Faubert.
Thank you, Your Worship. I too will speak in favor of second and third reading. I believe that this direct control district does create the potential for a real vibrant community, and I do hear the concerns around no minimum parking, and I think that as we head in towards the future of the Palliser area, it's important that like for me, in order to have confidence that no minimum parking is going to work, what I see is a layered approach of other things that are happening and are incorporated in the area structure plan or area redevelopment plan. And that layered approach is a whole bunch of other things. It's not just having less parking spots. For example, it is the potential that we can rent units to people without cars specifically, and that rent is lower, right? Like, so if you are a person who doesn't have a car, this would be a place that you would be more attractive for you to live. The other is the pedestrian crossing along the highway, which is in the 5-year capital plan, both design and construction. I think that is going to be absolutely fundamental. The next is transit and the active network pathways and connections for people movement. And then also what I believe is really the game changer is the potential for a car share program. And I believe a car share program in a high density area like Palliser has the potential to really make it so that people can live without a car. And I want to be that person, and so I see my future there, and for that reason I support it. And I think of my grandmother Elsie and the fact that she lived in Canmore for over 50 years without ever having a driver's license. And my love of biking around this community comes from her. And so I bike every day, and I bike in the winter. And I know that's not for everyone, but in this area, in the Palliser area, and with the Moustache Lands Direct Control District, and the no minimum parking requirement and the concerns I heard, I wanted to just speak to that and say that I believe that we're heading in the right direction to make that a success. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I absolutely agree with you. Councillor Mara.
Thank you. I will be speaking in favor of this motion. This has been a long time coming. I know that our previous council had a lot of discussions, especially Councillor McCallum and myself, and we were both really, I can't speak for her, but really looking forward to this happening because it's been a long time in discussion. But also I was going to speak to parking, that and the transit system, all the walking trails, the bike path, everything is being provided to help provide a vibrant community. And I look forward to seeing a lot of families in that area. So this is why I will be supporting it.
Thank you. Councillor Mall.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will be voting enthusiastically to support as well. I do hear the one constituent's concerns about parking minimums, but having said that, parking minimums is a thing that's been executed effectively across North America, and I also feel that it can be managed. And so if there are situations, we can set that up where it's like a permitting issue, being very clear and upfront of what is available, and there will probably be some parking and visitor parking available as well per the development. With regards to the size of our CCH wait list, in terms of people in our community that are trying to rent or buy, the list only grows ever longer, and we need all the tailwinds we can for this project. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hillstead.
I will also be happy to support these two motions. I'm not going to get into all the many great reasons because they have already been said, but I just echo those. We need the housing. This is a different option with the parking minimums, how we've set them up. Yes, some people will more likely be attracted to this if they don't have a car because they might get a savings because they don't. So it's just a different layer of affordability. I know of people that, they've never had their driver's license and they've been in town forever, so it can be done, and it's not for everyone though. So with that in mind, but again, this is going to house those people, and there will be people with cars, there'll be people that choose not to have cars. It just gives more options and just gives a different lifestyle choice, but it is a choice. So if we can get that housing in the ground, it's just offers more variety to our town. So
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Graham.
Thank you to everyone for speaking so eloquently to this already. Yeah, with this project, we're coming close to doubling the amount of inventory we have for CECH, especially with the other project in 100 Palliser. That's exciting stuff. We're doing more in this term than has been done in almost 20 years of affordable housing. I wanted to thank the province for donating this land, for making that possible. I know we have some time crunches on making this happen, and some expectations from them, and I appreciate that. I do hear some people say, not everybody can walk or bike, and I hear that. And just to set that expectation, we don't expect everybody to walk or bike. We need some people to, but not everybody. And that affordability piece of zero parking minimums is significant. And there are definitely lots of people in this community that would happily pay less rent and have that mode shift part of this. So thank you all. And I think Councillor Forbear, your motion for liquor stores was definitely one that made this a little bit better. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Just to that last point you made, actually a couple of them, thank you for remembering to acknowledge the province once again. It was that donation of the land that makes this project possible. And we certainly will, by far, more than double the amount of non-market rental housing that's available in our community. With respect to the choices, with our transportation mode shift, it's not about saying no to one mode and yes to others. It's about saying yes to all in a balanced way, right? I know that personally, we moved down to a one-vehicle family, and my wife has some mobility challenges, and she has the car most of the time. For her to walk or bike long distance or any distance is not a reality. So she needs that vehicle. She can take the bus. For myself, I actually really, really enjoy either taking the bus or biking. And depending on the weather, those are my choices. And so with the introduction of Route 12 to the Palliser area, it gives that neighborhood those same choices. And they'll only expand with more infrastructure. So thank you for your thoughts and Councillor Faubert's thoughts in that regard also. All right, excellent comments. I will now call the question on second reading. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. I'll now move the council give third reading to revised land use development bylaw amendment 2025-06 Moustache lands. Anyone wishing to add any further comments on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, so we are done the Palliser one, and we're going to move now to item G2, which is vital homes amendments, council policy, and revised land use bylaw. Mr. Schneider.
Actually, Ms. Smithers is going to present this.
Oh, Ms. Smithers from afar. Ms.
Yes,
Smithers,
and-
welcome to council via electronic magic. Yes.
Thank you.
The
Happy to be
microphone-
here.
The microphone is yours whenever you're ready.
I'm just going to share my screen.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
we're just gonna, tell you what, I'm gonna ask.
There we go.
There we go.
She can share her screen, but just wait to present.
Okay, so you can share your screen, but then we need you to wait to present because there's something that needs to be adjusted.
Whitney, we're just trying to, if you can just share your screen, but we're just trying to make sure that it's actually showing here in the council chambers and on the stream. So just hold off
so
actually starting your presentation.
it's saying I can't share it. Maybe Harry, can you plug your laptop in and I'll just riff off of that one?
Wow. Thank you for your patience, Ms. Smithers. It's still being worked on. Okay, so probably have to minimize that one thing and slide it across. Okay, and is Ms. Smithers still there?
I am.
Okay, we now have your presentation on the screen. Once again, thank you for your patience, and now the microphone is yours.
Okay, thank you. And I apologize for that. Glad that Harry and I had a plan B set out. I still see the recommendations from the Moustache Land slide on my screen, but I can just let it rip if you guys can see the Vital Homes presentation.
Yes, we see the Vital Homes Amendments presentation.
Okay, I'll go with that then. Thank you very much. Good morning, members of council. I'm here to present with Mr. Schneider on the Vital Homes amendments, or the amendments to the Vital Homes provisions in the land use bylaw and council policy. So the perpetually affordable housing policy was initially approved by council in 2005, and it was renamed the Vital Homes policy in 2021. Some of the Vital Homes policy upgrades in this iteration of review require amendments to the land use bylaw. That's because there are a number of bylaw provisions that are actually policy statements and better suited to the council policy than the land use bylaw. The policy and the land use bylaw amendments should be approved at the same meeting, though, so we've proposed that for July 8th. When there is second and third reading of the land use bylaw, then we would bring the council policy forward for approval at that time. So today it's really just the first reading of the bylaw amendments that are in front of council. They're best discussed, though, in the context of the policy amendments, so that council, because we're taking quite a bit out of the land use bylaw, it's important that council can see where that ends up. So I am discussing today also the council policy and then referencing the CCH policy, but that's just to provide the context so that council members can kind of follow the bouncing ball, because it's a pretty complicated puzzle that we're putting together here. So the next slide, in terms of the process that we followed, there was a significant amount of collaboration from interest holders who actually participated in a co-edit of the council policy and the bylaw and the CCH policy. Interest holders involved included, obviously, Canmore Community Housing. They had a significant amount of input into this, as did members of BODA. And I just wanted to acknowledge that most of the members of BODA who participated in this review process had experience as former CCH board members as well, so that lended some unique insight to the process. So as a group, we had 6 themed meetings over 5 months, and those meetings were focused on the scope and objectives of both the bylaw and the policy review, discussing delineation between bylaw and policy content, which I spoke to earlier, changes to council policy, and then also we discussed the creation of a CCH policy. So in terms of the objectives of the land use bylaw and policy review, there were really 6 of them that we landed on as a group. First off, one objective was to put the policy in the policy. So that's just the acknowledgement that many of the regulations in Section 12 of the land use bylaw are better used as housing policy, not as land use bylaw regulation. Another objective was to give authority to the most suitable decision maker, recognizing that CCH, as the town's housing provider, has considerable experience and knowledge related to build rate and construction costs, and they're likely better suited to make decisions related to those. A third objective related to reasonable benefit and flexibility for the Vital Homes program, so ensuring that the provision of new Vital Homes aligns with demand. And then a fourth related one was ensuring a reasonable bonus pricing structure for CCH and for industry. We acknowledge that bonuses available to the development industry should be set at a level that encourages greater uptake. And then also there should be some flexibility in considering alternative methods to contribute to the Vital Homes program, and that some of those build rates in terms of incentivizing bonus units from developers to industry, currently it's a bit of a blunt instrument where really that rate can fluctuate depending on the built form being considered. So that was another key objective to move away from that one size fits all approach in the pricing structure. A fifth objective was to develop standardized, transparent processes and agreements with CCH. So that's really about improving clarity and consistency for developers to use the bonusing tools and make it easier to do business with regard to developer uptake on providing Vital Homes units. And then the last objective was to consider additional incentives for industry. And in that discussion, we talked about allowing cash in lieu of Vital Homes units as a beneficial option for both private developers and for CCH. So in terms of the key changes in the land use bylaw and the amendments that we were looking at, it's really, first of all, there was agreement to rename Section 12 from density bonusing regulations to perpetually affordable housing regulations. And that's just recognizing that all of the regulations in Section 12 are specifically oriented to perpetually affordable housing, whereas density bonusing as a kind of global instrument could be something that we would allow in multiple situations. So we wanted to be more specific about what Section 12 is really intended to address. We do allow for the provision of cash in lieu of units. And as I mentioned before, this was seen as desirable both from the development industry and from CCH. We have one consistent definition of perpetually affordable housing. So currently it's defined both in Section 12 and then in the definition section of the land use bylaw in Section 13. So we've taken both of those definitions, refined them to be more reflective of this product, and then we're taking it out of Section 12 and just having PAH defined once in Section 13. We've acknowledged that some statutory plans, most notably the Village and Smith Creek area structure plans, have unique bonusing policy when it comes to affordable housing. So the land use bylaw amendments acknowledge that and give precedence to statutory plans with those unique bonusing policies. And then lastly, we've reorganized some of the clauses in Section 12 just for readability. So then in terms of the council policy or just general policy amendments, some of the key changes there. So we've taken a lot of the bonus unit guideline provisions that were previously in the land use bylaw and move them into council policy in a new section that's titled bonus unit guidelines. We've moved the authority for determining the build rate prices for Vital Homes to Canmore Community Housing. And then Canmore Community Housing has created a draft Vital Homes acceptance of developer initiated units policy. And I believe that's going to be in front of their board of directors this Thursday for approval. The committee also did talk about some potential future updates. One of them was revisiting the bonusing ratios that are in the land use bylaw. There was some interest in revisiting that ratio, but generally the feeling was we should let the changes in policy and the bylaw track for a bit to see if there is greater uptake with just some of the existing changes before we get into the ratio. We also talked about replacing fair benefit to the community with clearer, more objective statements. Part of the rationale for that is it is a pretty subjective term. There's another section of the land use bylaw that talks about reasonable benefit to the community, which is again subjective. So that there was some discussion about in the upcoming land use bylaw rewrite, we have an opportunity to move away from some of those more subjective statements. And then in a future update, provide something that is a little clearer and gives better definition to what the town is actually looking for. And then the other potential future update was considering the most appropriate calculation of residential densities in the land use bylaw. And that was really a discussion around the use of a units per acre calculation versus a floor area ratio calculation and understanding what both of those means for potential provision of additional units. So those are all kind of future updates. And then in the recommendations, then, just on my last slide, Harry, I don't know if it's up there, sorry. Oh, there it is right now. I did notice there is an amendment that we would need that is to attachment G2A1. Clause 6A in that revised land use development bylaw amendment needs to insert section 12.2.0.3 into the sections that we're repealing. And then with that proposed motion or amendment, rather, sorry, the recommendation is that council give first reading to the revised land use development bylaw amendment 2025-22 Vital Homes, and that council schedule a public hearing for revised land use development bylaw amendment 2025-22 Vital Homes on July 8th. Oh, and sorry, that should be 2025. And then I would just note again that on that July 8th meeting, the Vital Homes policy will be coming back to council with a recommendation for approval following second and third reading of the land use bylaw. And that's just simply to reflect that until second and third reading of the land use bylaw happens, all of those clauses are still in the bylaw and we don't want them sitting in two places at once. And with that, thank you very much for listening to my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Smithers, and I do note the amendment that needs to be made, so once I put first reading on the table, I'll move that amending motion. And I do note the proper date suggested for the public hearing, unless we have some sort of DeLorean that can go real fast and take us back to another time.
I have not yet found a flux capacitor, but I'm looking for one.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to start with a question, and you do touch on it in your report quite well. And of course, we're trying to move away from the nomenclature of perpetually affordable housing. And when we discussed this at agenda review, it was determined that it's best to stick with it for now in this context, but it could be changed to something like non-market housing at a future date, maybe part of a larger amendment to the land use bylaw. Am I correct in my understanding?
Yes, I would say generally in the consultation that we did on the policy and bylaw amendments, as it says in the report, there was a strong preference for the perpetually affordable housing, predominantly because the stakeholders felt, or interest holders, excuse me, felt that it lent more specificity to what the town was actually looking for. They found that they thought that Vital Homes sounded too ambiguous. And if you were a new developer or builder coming into the market, you wouldn't really know what that was about. Having said that, though, I think a change to the term that would keep some clarity around what it is would be in keeping with the spirit of the discussion that was had with the interest holders. It was at the same time, though, acknowledged that perpetually affordable housing is a term used throughout the land use bylaw, including in a number of direct control districts. And it's also used in local policy, local area plans like the Spring Creek ASP and the Bow Valley Trail ARP, as well as the Municipal Development Plan. So that naming change would be a significant amount of work that wouldn't really have a material impact on the provision of the units. So that's where looking at an existing project like the land use bylaw rewrite that we could dovetail it in would be much preferred by administration.
Yeah, thanks. And with reference to ASPs and stuff and other statutory documents, that brings in a whole other ball of wax too, of a lot of changes that would be needed. So I understand that we may have to just live with it. So thank you for that answer. Looking forward, any other comments from members of council? Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Your Worship. Ms. Smithers, we talked a bit about moderate income in this request for a decision, as well as the use of the median income to help determine building costs and affordability. And my understanding is that incomes in Canmore are kind of a little bit of a bell curve, in that we have lots on the lower end, not a lot in the middle, and lots on the upper end. And I wonder if you could just speak to why median incomes and maybe not average in this case.
I don't know that I would prefer to perhaps wait and come back on July 8th with more complete answer on that. Otherwise, I'd just be speculating.
Yeah, no, happy to do
And
so.
also, I would say it's also linked into CCH policy as well. So I'd want to connect with Mr. Matthew and make sure that we're giving one complete answer.
I can definitely wait for that answer. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much, Ms. Smithers, and thank you for taking time out of your vacation time to be with us today. Okay, so I will move that council give first reading to revised land use development bylaw amendment 2025-22 Vital Homes. And before getting to any comments on the first reading, I will move an amendment. I move that we amend the revised land use development bylaw amendment 2025-22 Vital Homes, Clause A, to insert section 12.2.0.3 between repealing and section 12.2.0.4. In that section, there's a list of sections that would be repealed, and this one is just missing, so it adds it to that list. Would anybody like to speak to this amending motion? Seeing none, I call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, we're back to the first reading as amended. Would anybody like to speak to the motion? I will be supporting this motion. I especially appreciate the comprehensive collaboration that was done between various interest holders, those in the development industry, especially with experience with Canmore Community Housing and, of course, Canmore Community Housing. This is only part of a larger body of work, getting things adjusted the way they need to with policies and what should be in the land use bylaw and what should be in Canmore Community Housing policy, etc. And so that's why we've been provided the drafts of those other pieces, and which we will address more or address after this matter has been completed. So I support this and encourage everyone to support this motion. Would anyone like to speak to the motion? Councillor Maw.
Thank you, Worship. I'd be pleased to support this. Wearing my other hat as like a board member on CCH, I can confirm that there's been some really good work amongst the stakeholders. I know administration from Ms. Smithers, as well as our ED for Chris Matthew, have done some really interesting ideas that have come forth. And at the end of the day, it really helps us like energize and monetize CCH projects, as well as compelling developers to come help with our biggest issue, which is our housing crisis. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. I'll now move that council schedule a public hearing for revised land use development bylaw amendment 2025-22 Vital Homes on July 8th, 2025. Would anyone like to speak to the motion? Seeing none, I call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. All right. We've already had a number of different technological breaks, so I'm just going to move forward. And we'll move now to item G3, revised land use bylaw amendment 2025-21 tourist home enforcement.
Bring that presentation up immediately.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Schneider.
Ms. Miller is going to be doing the presentation.
Yes.
Just for council's information.
And welcome to council, Ms. Miller. It's good to see you. And whenever it's up, and the microphone will be yours. There you go.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for having me today. Mr. Schneider is here for questions if there are any as well. So thanks to Council for approving our submission to the Government of Canada's Short-Term Rental Enforcement Fund and for approving our budget once we receive those funds. Because of that, we've been able to work on enhancing our enforcement capabilities against unpermitted tourist homes and creating efficient and effective processes to ensure compliance with our municipal regulations. These regulations help in ensuring dwellings that could or should be in the long-term housing stock remain there and are not used instead as short-term rentals. Increasing compliance with the land use bylaw helps the town work towards our housing affordability goals in our housing action plan. Recently, the Alberta Court of Justice took a strict approach to the interpretation of the definition of tourist homes in the land use bylaw and concluded that advertisement is but one of the indicators of operating an unpermitted tourist home. The Alberta Court of Justice also concluded that the town could have made it a standalone offense to advertise tourist homes. This led for us to review the definition of a tourist home in the land use bylaw and see if there was opportunity to make amendments that would increase effectiveness and clarity when enforcing tourist homes. So to operate a tourist home in Canmore, you need both a development permit issued and a valid business license, which must be posted both online and in a place visible by the public at the unit. The advertisement of the business license is still in the transition period, and we're educating business license holders around the rules that came into effect last fall, just to give them time to meet our regulations. The recommended amendments to the land use bylaw that you have before you will accomplish 3 things. So we will have greater clarity as to what constitutes a contravention of the land use bylaw in relation to operating a tourist home. And this will provide clarity not only for administration, but for our communication with the public about what is or is not a tourist home and where you can or cannot advertise rental units. It also provides greater clarity around fines related to offenses of operating tourist homes, and it updates the characteristics of a tourist home for much greater clarity. So the first proposed amendment is around what actually constitutes a contravention. So now it includes wording that goes beyond just saying a tourist home requires a development permit. It's clear that in prosecution for operating or allowing a tourist home to be operated without a valid development permit, proof that a tourist home has been advertised is sufficient evidence to establish the contravention. The fines have been updated to add clarity and increase the fine amount for the third offense to a minimum penalty of $10,000. So that was always in there, as we could go up to $10,000, but this just adds that certainty for third and additional offenses. We've removed the time limit of an offense occurring within a calendar year. So this helps with enforcement so that if the first offense happens near the end of the year, so say contravention is observed in December, we address it, issue the violation ticket, but then another one happens in January. With the way that it's currently written, that would go back to another first offense instead of being a second offense. This helps us not be bound to restarting the clock at the beginning of each year, and we can enforce the second offense, especially within that timely matter. Peace officers will continue to use their judgment and discretion when considering something as a second or third offense. So this is something that they do regularly with our other bylaws, and they consider things like time, change in ownership, etc. when issuing that fine. We've also updated the characteristics of the tourist home, and this is where the most significant changes are in the amendments, and these are a greater list of tourist home characteristics. The definition that we currently have is flexible, and it allows for greater interpretation as to what constitutes a tourist home, but we're trying to balance the need to provide greater clarity while still having some flexibility to address unique circumstances in our proposed amendment. The recommended amendments will help in educating and ensuring compliance with the land use bylaw because it does add that clarity when we're talking to the public. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I am just going to highlight that, again, we have in there that the dwelling unit is being advertised as a tourist home, vacation property, vacation rental, short-term rental, getaway, or similar use. So that's something that we have been telling people that we're looking for when we're educating them as to where they can advertise a rental unit and how to advertise it. When you're advertising something as being a tourist home, a vacation property, a getaway, a retreat, those are all words that we're looking for. We're also looking if it's managed by a third party that handles vacation properties, vacation rentals, short-term rentals, getaways, etc. There also is the commercial nature of the dwelling unit. So if you are, it has to have that commercial nature, so that's where the business license comes in. Using the system of reservations, deposits, credit cards, other form of electronic payment, that was in there before, but just for greater certainty, it's kind of built out a little bit. The nightly or weekly booking rates, that's something that we look for as well when we're looking at the advertisement. Even if they do have month-long rentals, if those words are in there, that's generally a sure sign it's being used as a tourist home. We're also looking if there's cancellation fees or other terms of and conditions that are bound with the cancellation. So that's pretty unique to tourist homes and short-term rentals. And then we kept in a line for flexibility. So any such characteristics that the town deems to be representative of the operation of a tourist home. And that's in there to adapt to changing circumstances, contexts that maybe we haven't thought of or don't have the more strict use around, because things change all the time. And again, we have the updated addition to have the advertisement in there. And for greater certainty, we are very clear that it's physically or electronically notifying the public by some way of a bulletin, notice, page, record, postings on websites. And we've indicated some websites, but it could be any new website that comes up as well. So those are all of the amendments that we're proposing. Today we also could, as mentioned in the report, just remain status quo, not update the definition. It's not recommended, just based off of the advice that we got both from the Alberta Court of Justice and our legal counsel. We could rely on other offenses, but then we might just end up in the same boat where maybe they aren't as clear as well, and they also come with lesser penalties and are not certain to increase compliance. We could delay amendments to the land use bylaw, but as we have the funding from the STREF, we'd really like to make use of that funding and make sure that our bylaws are as clear as possible so that we can have effective and efficient enforcement, especially as we get into the busy season this summer. So our recommendations are that Council give first reading to the revised land use bylaw amendment 2025-21, tourist home enforcement, and that a public hearing be scheduled for July 8th, 2025.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Appreciate that very thorough presentation and addressing all of the changes that are being proposed. Looking to council to see if there are any questions. Councillor Faubert.
Thank you, Mayor Krauser. Thank you, Ms. Miller, for your presentation. With respect to nightly and weekly booking rates, what about monthly? Because I know that there are short-term rentals out there that occur in month blocks, and I just was wondering why, if that was considered, and how that area of enforcement is being managed. Thank you.
Yeah, really good question. We put in the nightly or weekly because that's usually one indicator of a short-term rental. Any contravention could have one or more of those characteristics. It doesn't need to have all of them. So if there is a monthly rental that meets many of the other characteristics, that would be something that we'd be looking into, like especially if it's advertised as a retreat or a getaway, and we knew that that was the purpose and the use of the building, it wasn't for housing, then that would be something that we looked at. But we didn't want to get too tight with the monthly piece because there are a lot of legitimate uses for a monthly rental as well.
Okay, and I also thought that, I mean, like 4 weeks is a month, so weekly, yeah. I mean.
It captures like the main ones,
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Ms. Miller. I wonder if you can go back. Remind me where we are with the business licenses and the need for those to be posted.
Yeah, so for any bed and breakfast or short-term rental tourist home, there is a need now in the business registry bylaw that those be posted and are publicly available. So right now we have somebody in place to take those business licenses through the business registry. We are informing people to make sure that they have it publicly posted, so letters should be going out actually by the end of this week, and we're doing it in a phased approach to ensure compliance. So that was for tourist homes and bed and breakfasts. That change happened in the fall with the business registry bylaw update. And we're working through the process during a transition period just to make sure that we give people ample time to comply.
And does vacation accommodation also need to display their business license? They do, right? Yeah.
Sorry, vacation accommodation?
Visitor accommodation, sorry.
Visitor
sorry.
accommodation?
Yeah. Okay.
That's, do you want to?
We're going to bring back a bylaw amendment as we were directed by council, which would, I guess, have the same requirements as tourist homes for visitor accommodation, so council will see that. I would say the visitor accom would be similar to any other business operating within the town of Canmore as far as the display requirements. But if council approves that business registry bylaw amendment, that would change it so that it becomes the same as tourist home display requirements.
Right, okay. I just did a really quick scan of the old Airbnb, and I didn't see many business licenses being displayed there yet, so I was curious as to where we were at with that stage. And then, you know, I get people talking to me all the time about, there's 1,200 listings on Airbnb. Those are all illegal. And I wonder if you could just speak a little bit more to the education piece that we're putting forth to help people understand what's legal and illegal in town.
Yeah, it's a little challenging because there's many legal tourist homes that we have in town, and when you see that many, there's 700 permitted, or around 700 permitted tourist homes, and that doesn't even include all the vacation or visitor accommodation units. So all of those, depending on where they're located, if a building is a visitor accom building, they can actually put those units individually on Airbnb or something to maximize their reach, right, and VRBO. So there's a mix of both tourist homes and visitor accommodation that you see when you pull up the listings. We've been doing a lot more proactive enforcement though. So we do have a dedicated staff member who's looking at tourist home enforcement and short-term rental enforcement. He's working very closely with the team in planning and development. We've addressed a lot proactively. There's one case recently where it went up on Airbnb and we caught it that same week before they even made a booking and had them take it down. So while it seems like there's a lot, we do a lot of work on the back end to kind of sift through to see what's legal and what's not permitted.
I look forward to seeing those business licenses get up there and so that the public has a much easier time understanding what's legal and illegal, as would we. And so, yeah, thank you for your efforts here.
Thank you, Councillor. I would just add in some of those listings too, there's also bed and breakfasts and, that are legal, and they're not confined to the tourist home areas. But there are a lot of illegal ones too. So, and we're certainly turning up the volume in our efforts to reduce those through that funding that's been received, and I appreciate all the efforts being made. Anyone else with a question? Seeing none, thank you very much. Thanks. So I'm going to move that council give first reading to revised land use bylaw amendment 2025-21 tourist home enforcement. And I really support this move, just by way of context. Back in the realm of about 2013 and 2014, when I was a councillor, myself and Mayor Borrowman had a lot of discussions and were very concerned about how to regulate illegal tourist homes. We in fact had several meetings with a tourist home operator that was concerned about illegal tourist homes. And she encouraged us to make changes to help even the playing field. And so what we came up with was making advertising of a home that was not within a tourist home area. That advertising being illegal, because there was a lot of difficulties in proving that something operated as a tourist home. You had to potentially contact the guests. You had to have some, evidence, etc., of the stay. But by making the actual advertising illegal, it was much easier to enforce. And there were a number of fines issued that in around, I think, 2016 after those changes. When I was elected mayor and having taken that one term away from council, I went to look for those changes that we had made, but the land use bylaw had been rewritten in 2018, and they had changed in their form. And I was a little disappointed because of the ease it was through the previous one to bring about that evidence. And so I'm really happy with these changes, because I believe not only does it get us back to where we were, I think it gets us better than we were. And so I believe that these will be tools that will be able to be used by enforcement to make sure that our neighborhoods are being used as they were designed to be used. And those where tourist homes are not allowed shouldn't be having homes being rented out and a rolling change of short-term residents and whatnot, and everything that comes with that, whether it be sometimes noise, sometimes congestion, but just also who is this? Setting up lawn chairs in the alley and having a little party in the alley. Long story short, I really support these changes. I think it gets us back to that zone that we were in, and perhaps even in a better zone. Councillor Hillstead.
Thank you. I'm happy to support first reading as well. Again, just the clarity that these changes make, I think will help our enforcement team and just make it very clear to everyone. There is a small typo, which I've already let the clerk know, and will get taken care of within the bylaw itself. But I think this is great work and just brings a lot of clarity to everyone. So thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hillstead. And yes, there was a doubling of a word, so that editorial change will be made. And thank you for catching that, because it's our job to try to produce the best document possible, and that certainly helps. Anyone else wishing to speak to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. And now I'll move that council schedule a public hearing for revised land use bylaw amendment 2025-21, tourist home enforcement, for July 8th, 2025. Would anybody like to speak to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, let's do one more before we take a short break. So we'll move on to item G4, manual ballot counting. Take whatever time you need to set up, and when you're ready, the microphone will be yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
So, out of curiosity, what's with the owl?
The audio, I'm going to play a little video, and the audio doesn't work. Remember in our
yes.
last meeting we were having
Great.
struggles with that? So
Thank
this
you.
is to make the audio work for the video.
This is a workaround. Well done.
Thanks to our fantastic IT. Thank you. So, as you can see by the RFD that's in front of you, I am here to talk about the new process that we're going to be following this year, which is going to be hand counting the ballots, which, as you're all aware, we have not done in 30 years. And so we're learning as we go. So I just wanted to walk you through a little bit of how, in general, we're going to be collecting the ballots and then counting them to sort of give some context to the report. So this election season, as we did 4 years ago, we're going to hold 5 advance votes, an institutional vote at 3 locations. We're going to allow mail-in ballots, and then, of course, there's election day. So all of the in-person voting is going to take place at the Canmore Civic Center. We're going to do all the voting in room 230, which is that long, skinny room that overlooks the arenas, if you know what I mean. And then as we are designating as a counting center, room 200, which is the big square room upstairs as next door, across from the washrooms. That's different because before our election station was our counting center. It was all the same because we used the tabulators. We didn't move anything. But now we're going to designate a separate counting center that all the boxes need to be brought to. So another change is that before all the contests were on one ballot, and they just went into one box, and we counted them on the machine. So the boxes were never opened again. What's different now is every contest will be on a separate ballot, so there'll be one ballot for the mayor's race, one ballot for the councilor's race, potentially one for each school board, and then if there's any kind of provincial referendum. So each will be a separate ballot in a separate box, and then those boxes on election day need to be opened and counted. So that's what gets transported to the counting center on election day. So a pretty different process than what we've done in the past. And just to let you know what we're expecting, these were our 2021 numbers. So about 40% of our the people that voted either at an advance or by a special ballot or at the institutional vote. And the MGA allows us a process, or they allow us for you to agree to start the counting center early. So typically the election station closes at 8. Anyone left in line can still vote. And then there's a close down process where we balance and clean everything up. I figure for election day votes, we'll probably be counting by, say, 8:45, 9 o'clock. But if we pass the bylaw today, we'll be able to start counting all those other boxes from the advance, special, and institutional vote. We can start right at 7:30, so we can bring them to that separate room. So that's what we're looking for there. And then just the piece about the special ballots. Special ballots, it's a 3-step process. You have to register, the person has to receive their ballot, and then they have to return their ballot. The default is that they return their ballot by 8 o'clock, which is the close of the voting station. We're just asking for a slight change to that to make it 7 o'clock so that we can include them in the early count, should you agree to the early count. Last time, we've done special ballots the last 2 elections. There's been no late entries. We have everything by 4:30 because the mail comes. Most people don't drop off, so everybody sends them in the mail. I don't think we're going to miss a ballot by having the 1 hour, and we'll advertise it. So that's kind of the where and the what, but then this is the how, the methodology. So how are we going to count all these ballots? And this is something that we're really looking into. So for the mayor's ballot and potentially for a referendum ballot where there's people only make one selection on their ballot, we're going to do that, we think, by what's called the stacking count. So it's just how it sounds. So everyone's name goes in a separate marked pile. Then they just get counted up in the end. It's really easy to watch for our scrutineers. It's really easy to double check. So that stacking count method will work really well for the one office votes. But for the at-large candidates, when there's up to 6 votes on each ballot, you can't do the stacking count. It doesn't work. So you have to have a different method. And I just wanted to show you, because this would be really hard to explain. This is a 3.5-minute video. Let's hope it works. It's not playing?
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see. Come on. Oh, now I get the wonky mouse. Oh, sorry. Okay. Just trying to make it go back to the beginning. Okay. And play.
Hand counting votes with the grassroots method is faster and more efficient than traditional hand counting. The time taken to count a ballot using the traditional hand counting method was 40 seconds compared to just under 28 seconds using the grassroots method. Instead of recording votes individually from ballots individually, like in traditional hand counting, the grassroots method involves sticking multiple overlapping ballots to a single sheet. With all these ballots lined up, it becomes easier to accurately count and record the votes of many ballots. Each team will comprise of sorters, counters, and a supervisor. To begin, the teams will empty the ballot boxes, verifying that no ballots were stuck to the bottom of the box. The sorter will then begin preparing the grassroots sheets by filling in the voting station, box number, and sheet number. Then the sorter will begin reviewing ballots one at a time for validity. Rejected ballots will be set in a pile off to the side, and the valid ballots will be stuck to the grassroots sheet. To place on the grassroots, the sorter will line up the top edge of each ballot with a sticky strip, covering the solid black line at the top and leaving space on the right-hand side of the grassroots for totals. Each consecutive ballot will be lined up with the corresponding number at the top and placed overlapping the previous ballot, so only the votes from the previous ballot are visible. The grassroots sheet has room for 10 individual ballots. Once the sorter has attached the maximum number of ballots to the sheet, the sorter will record any undervotes below each ballot. In this example, the ballots allow for a maximum of 8 votes. If a ballot has fewer than 8 votes, the difference would then be the undervote. A ballot with 7 votes would then have an undervote of 1. After this point, the grassroots sheet is ready to be counted. The sorter will sort and place until all ballots are either on a grassroots or in the rejected pile. The last job of the sorter is to verify that all rejected ballots are in fact rejected and provide the supervisor with the total. Moving across each row, the counter will record the total votes per candidate in the total column to the right of ballots. The counter will also add any undervotes and record the total in the total row. Then, the counters will add up all the total votes and total undervotes together. This number should always equal the total number of allowed votes per ballot multiplied by the total number of ballots on the grassroots sheet. If an error has occurred, repeat the count to correct the error. As each set of grassroots are completed, they'll be placed in the pile for the supervisor. The supervisor will then enter the totals for each candidate into the master count spreadsheet and initial the grassroot next to their name to indicate it's been completed. The supervisor will confirm the total number of rejected ballots in the rejected ballots pile and record the total in the spreadsheet. Hand counting votes with the
no.
grassroots method is faster and more efficient
Sorry.
than traditional hand counting. The time taken to
Got it. Now we just need to make this go away. Okay. Almost.
So aside, just on that, I take it throughout this, there's also people who are watching each of the, right? So when the supervisor is entering the numbers, somebody's watching the supervisor to make sure that they're the actual numbers, so that there's no weakness in the system.
Correct. So I do just want to recognize that video was produced and posted on YouTube by the city of Lethbridge. They are doing extensive testing of several counting methods and making their results available to everyone, their constituents, as well as all of the clerks in the other municipalities as well. So it's been a big help. So things they're testing are how many supervisors per counters and what the double check in there would be. And we'll be doing our own testing as well to figure out. And then, as you know, too, every candidate usually sends a scrutineer. And so the scrutineers will be able to watch the whole process. It's how we figure it will work right now. So the reason I showed you that video to get you all excited about the grass skirt method is I wanted to talk about how Canmore has always prepared our ballots. And we have always done a randomized ballot. I should say always. For 30 years, we have done a randomized ballot. And that is specifically set out how you can do it in the MGA. And so I just wanted to give you an example. So we do what's called a rotated ballot. And so what happens is you print your ballots in lots, depending on how many people you have running in the race. So in the first ballot, it's in alphabetical order by last name. Then for your second ballot, lot 2, the Glenn Anderson from the top goes to the bottom of the second ballot. The next person in alphabetical order is at the top. That's lot 2. And then you just continue that. So the person from the top of lot 2 goes down to the bottom of lot 3. You've got a new person at the top. And that repeats for every candidate. So in 2021, we had 12 candidates. We had 12 lots. The drawback now with that method is we can't use the grass skirt. We would only be able to use the call-out method. That's the only method we would be able to consider for hand counting. And that's called the column record. And they showed that a little bit in the video where the guy was calling it out and you had 2 people making tick marks. That also is easy to observe and easy to double check. It's an accurate method. Well, I put accuracy challenges. The accuracy challenge is missing overvotes because there's no double check in there really. And I'm going to tell you, when you get tired and you've been calling out for a little while and you're trying to make sure every ballot has 6 or less, 1 can slip through or 2 can slip through is tough, right? Like people get tired. And it is slower. They said Lethbridge tested it. That's what they put in their video, that this was 40 seconds per ballot roughly, and the grass skirt is 28 seconds roughly. So it is faster.
So that means on one of those grass skirts, you get 120 seconds. So that's 2 minutes per set of 10. That's a lot.
They said it's quite fast. Yeah. So the alphabetical ballots, if we were going to go that route, repeal the bylaws is in our recommendation. It is also easy to observe, as we were just talking about. It's faster, and I think with that undervote balance, we're not going to miss any overvotes. So the underbalance and then that balancing piece at the end, plus all the ballots stay stuck to the grass skirt. So it's easy for someone else to verify a count. You can go back. If we had to do a recount, that's what is going to go in the ballot boxes. So I think, I mean, I'm for sure in favor of the grass skirt. That's why I'm here. But I did want to talk about the pros and cons of the rotated ballots, because there's a reason we've been doing rotated ballots for as long as we have. And the biggest thing is the thing called alphabetical bias, and it exists. There is a lot of studying that's been going on over the years that shows when people are in a low information election, a low information vote, they tend to use shortcuts to vote. And when I think about a low information vote, if you remember in our last election, we held a vote for Alberta Senate nominees, and there was quite a few of them, I can't remember, like a dozen. They were not people from the community, they hadn't done any campaigning, people didn't know who they were. What we found anecdotally, because we didn't know to measure it, people were not voting for the first name on the list. People just weren't voting. When people didn't know who to vote for, they just didn't vote. We had a lot of blank ballots for the Senate election. I would also say that our municipal election is not low information. I mean, candidates get out there and campaign. We have a pretty engaged citizenry. I kind of think that people know who they're voting for in Canmore, if you think about it compared to that Senate election. But I'm going to tell you that the rotated ballots have fans, right? People think it evens the playing field, so it's something to consider. The challenge is, of course, it's going to reduce our options for how we're going to count the ballots. We won't be able to use the fancy grass skirt. It is going to increase the complexity in producing the ballots as well. This year, we're going to have them bound in booklets like you see at the federal election, and then you rip off the tab. Because we have to produce them collated, right? So we can't have a lot 1 in one book, lot 2 in one book, lot 2. We will have to print all the lots in every book. So it will add a little bit of complexity there. They talk about quality assurance, and that's why it's harder to proof all the ballots because there's so many of them. And there is something that I saw on the internet too about the cognitive load on voters. I'm not sure if that's true or not. The research shows that when ballots are in different orders, and I did see a little bit at the last election because people will say, oh, the mayor wasn't first, or Mayor Sean Krauser wasn't the first name on my ballot. I wonder why. That was weird, So people do notice, talk to each other. I don't know if that's really a thing. So anyway, I'm hoping to convince you to give alphabetical ballots a go this year because we have so many unknowns with how we're going to produce this count. So the bylaw that's in front of you is for the early counting and to end the requirement for the rotated ballots. And then there's just a motion required to set the early deadline to receive special ballots. And those are the motions. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hyde. Councillor Faubert, you have a question.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Hyde. So the MGA allows municipalities in Alberta to do a rotated ballot. How many municipalities other than us do one?
Oh, thank you for that question. I forgot to say that. 0. We're the only ones.
Yep. Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Your Worship. My question's around the 7:30 count time for the ballots. Why not go just so there's kind of a 4:30 cutoff that you're getting them you should have all the ballots by 4:30. Did I hear that right?
All the special ballots, or all the advanced ballots will have been voted on other days.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're already existing. We want the special ballots to be in by 7, and the institutional vote last time was done by 6. So
okay.
those boxes will all be filled up before the close of vote on election day.
Excellent. Now I understand.
Yeah.
And could you count the advanced ballots sooner than that?
Yeah. It was 7:30 is the earliest the MGA will allow.
Will allow.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. One more, if I might. So,
oh, sorry, Local Authorities Election Act, not the MGA.
Right, LAEA. I've heard a lot about it lately. So we're the only ones that do rotating ballots, but some of the changes that the provincial government made were around perception of fairness, I think, is kind of what they're going for. So, yeah, it would take longer, but your presentation led me to believe that it would potentially be fairer.
It is something you have to consider. That's the reason for doing them.
Yeah.
Is because there's a perception it makes it more fair. It's subjective, right? You can read things that say in a high information campaign it doesn't matter.
Dr. Cottle?
Yeah, so
I just will clarify my understanding from chatting with you about this, Ms. Hyde, is that there is research that shows both.
Yeah.
And so I think council can go either way. I'm not invested in any outcome, but I think there's risk in suggesting making a switch wouldn't be fair because we're the only municipality in Alberta currently who rotate. So if it were unfair in other communities, they would have also been using rotated ballots before this. So while I think Ms. Hyde spoke well to that perception issue, and I think the Senate was a really good example, I'm not sure that fairness in this way is that relevant an issue. This is really more about cost and time efficiency, given that there hasn't been any other community in Alberta who has found their elections to be unfair by not doing the rotated ballots.
I think that's a great point.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the additional cost to do this, or the cost savings would be roughly how much?
I don't know.
You don't
I'm
know
sorry.
yet?
Yeah, we're not that far yet.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you very much.
The cost savings would be in people's time, right? Like, hopefully,
Yeah.
we're gonna have the workers there for
Yeah,
a
so it's-
lower
if it's
amount of time.
16 person hours, whatever we're paying on a per
Yeah.
hour basis, roughly.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a 30% reduction in time. So
Roughly, yeah.
that's a 30% reduction in time that people are needed to do counting. So that's a not insignificant number. Any other questions? I don't see any. Thanks very much, Ms. Hutt. Okay, so I will move that council give first reading to election manual ballot counting bylaw 2025-20. I'll speak in favor of this move. I believe that the benefits of repealing the previous bylaw and proceeding as recommended far outweigh any costs or perceptions of change. And in fact, I expect, because of the very thing that Ms. Hyde spoke to, a couple people leaving, and well, they were lined up differently. For some people, it will actually perhaps be more fair because it's consistent. So I think that this is a good move forward in the circumstances. Not as good as the validators, but certainly making the best of a situation in which we find ourselves. Looking to Councillor Faubert, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I am going to be speaking in favor of the motions and the change to the ballots, and I believe that we have taken a principled approach, and we are turning our minds to fairness. But in the full scale of everything that's changed and what we have to deliver, I believe that the efficiency gained is far more valuable than a small amount of theoretical fairness. I think that a lot of people out there are used to alphabetical, and that makes sense to them. I think that this being the first year that we're hand counting after a really long period of time of being able to use the tabulators, that even if we find that this is a barrier for our voters, we can come and change it before the next election. But going into a hand counting situation, I think the grass skirt method, I think turning our eye to methodology, turning our minds to accuracy as well, we're not losing on that, and that is, to me, absolutely vital. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hillstead.
Thank you. I'm happy to support this. I just want to thank admin for all the work that's gone into this. I remember walking past and watching some hand counting happening, practice goes. And then I actually just thank you to the city of Lethbridge for putting all their research out there, because that should hopefully help all of our municipalities that are now in this boat. So yeah, I'm happy to support this, and maybe they'll find an even faster way to count. But yeah.
Councillor Ma.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just want to say thanks so much to admin for great work, and also, as Councillor Hillstead said, thank you for City of Lethbridge for doing that great informative video. I think it's noted, I think it's admirable in the past that we did do the rotated ballot, but having said that, I do feel that people that want to run for council, they take it quite seriously, and the name recognition that they build over the campaign process is worth something. And otherwise, you can always change your name between now and then to Adam Aardvark, and away we go. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Councillor Mara. Councillor Mara.
Thank you. I'm happy to support. I have full confidence in Ms. Hyde and her staff. I know she's been working on this for a while, so I have full confidence in what she has recommended and will support.
Thank you. Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Your Worship. I too will vote in support. I did an election count, and it was alphabetical and it was manually counted, and I think accuracy is incredibly important. I will take a little bit longer to get things right, But this seems to find a good balance, and we'll get there. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. I'll now move that council give second reading to election manual ballot counting bylaw 2025-20. Would anyone like to speak to the motion? Seeing none, I call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. I move that council give leave to go to third reading of election manual ballot counting bylaw 2025-20. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. I'll now move that council give third reading to election manual ballot counting bylaw 2025-20. Would anyone like to speak to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. I'll also move the council provide for special ballot registration between August 5th, 2025 and noon on Friday, October 17th, 2025, and set 7 p.m. on election day as the deadline by which a completed special ballot package must be received by the returning officer. Would anyone like to speak to that motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Just before calling a break, I would like to appreciate the sample rotating ballot that was used, given that the Oilers are Canada's team right now. Very appropriate, very tough choice. Sorry for Alice Hemsky, because I think he would be the odd person out in that vote. But anyway, got to go with the most of the 80s Oilers. Anyway, I'm going to call a break right now. It's not going to be a long one, only till 10:55, okay? Okay, we're back from our break, and now we're turning to item H1, Benefits Policy HR-001. Ms. Sauvé, welcome to council. And if you can really direct the microphone towards your mouth there, that'd be great.
Is that better? This far away?
Yep, well, actually, yeah, just direct it right at your mouth and get as close to it as possible so we can hear you. Thanks.
You don't want me to sing. Good morning, Mayor Croussard and members of council. My name is Joanna Sauvé. I am the Manager of Human Resources, and I'm here today to present the amended benefits policy HR-001 and to seek council's approval for the policy as presented. As with all recent HR policy updates, the policy presented today aims for alignment with council's strategic plan and goals, specifically the livability goal that employment opportunities exist for residents with a dignified employment opportunities that provide residents with a dignified and reasonable standard of living are widely available. And then, as recently noted, we are a primary employer in this community, and we have the ability to impact that goal directly through our own compensation system, which includes benefits. The changes into the policy today are specifically aimed at improving livability and contributing to wellness and making Canmore a more attractive and feasible community to work and live. The policy also aims to align with the relationships goal, which recognizes the importance of a strong and healthy public service, and the foundational pillar of human resources, which values people and culture as our greatest assets and commits to fostering inclusivity and connection. Sorry, I feel like I'm noisy. The policy's purpose is to ensure that benefits are an integral part of our overall employee compensation, with an aim to attract and retain the healthy and engaged workforce that is needed to serve our community. It also establishes the employee benefits that are provided by the town, as well as the eligibility for those benefits, and then the cost sharing between the town and employees for the premiums and the contributions of benefits. The policy applies to all employees who are not governed by a collective agreement, which is the majority of our workforce. It's also important to note that benefits are a key component in livability, well-being, and resilience, and those are an integral part of a thriving and productive workforce and a stable service delivery. There are two key policy amendments included. The first is to expand benefits for long-term temporary employees with contracts of 12 months or longer. The expanded benefits would align with those that are currently provided to council, so it would include health and dental coverage, a healthcare spending account, healthcare and wellness spending account, life and dependent life insurance, accidental death and dismemberment insurance, AD&D, as well as group retirement savings plan matching contributions. And the reason for including this tier of benefits is because it has become increasingly difficult to attract qualified candidates into our temporary roles. Roles that become available due to long-term leaves, such as maternity and parental leaves, or temporary positions for capital projects. And we believe this update will strengthen our ability to recruit talent into those roles. The second update is to provide Elevation Place memberships for employees and their dependents. And when I was here last week, I talked about the goal of finding livability initiatives that maximize how much the town's investment makes its way to direct value for employees. And this is literally the prime example of the most cost-effective livability initiative that the town could implement. It provides more value to employees than it costs the town, and it not only contributes to local livability, but also to employee and family health and wellness. We also believe that providing this benefit will free up our current employee wellness spending account to spend at other local businesses rather than Elevation Place. And also, we surveyed other municipalities, and 51% of the respondents are now providing full free recreation access to their employees, with a split between those including employees and dependents. 33% are providing discounts ranging from 20 to 90%, and only 16% of municipalities are now providing no access. So the trend has changed. This used to be a big hurdle to get over in municipal government. We're seeing a big shift towards municipalities providing these benefits for staff. Alternatives to the amendments for today. For the expanded benefits for temporary employees, Council could consider different eligibility periods for these benefits. Administration assessed both 6-month and 18-month eligibility periods, but neither is recommended at this point. 6-month eligibility period could extend benefits to some seasonal employees, which would likely result in longer-term cost implications to our total benefits plan because of seasonal claiming patterns. And then conversely, an 18-month eligibility period would prevent us from offering benefits for our most common contract length, which is 12 months. For elevation place memberships, Council can consider a number of options, perhaps limiting passes to employees only, or offering a discount of 75% rather than a fully subsidized pass. The implications of both of those include that memberships become more cumbersome to administer, so we may lose our savings in that, especially when we're mixing employee memberships with family memberships, and then where we sometimes have multiple employees from the same family, so it becomes a little more difficult to administer. And if the town at some point decided to implement facility use restrictions for employees, they are more difficult to implement when employees are paying for their pass as well. So for example, if we wanted to limit employee attendance to non-peak times, it's more difficult to implement a restriction like that. Financial impacts. For temporary benefits, the cost implications vary based on the role and the funding, but based on our current data, we're estimating it could cost up to $85,000 annually, which would be absorbed by our salary, wages, and benefits budget. And then the financial impact of providing elevation place memberships for employees and their dependents is calculated to be an approximate loss in revenue of about $75,000. And so for reference, if this was a benefit we wanted to offer and pay for, wellness, recreation, or fitness access, it would cost an employer in the realm of $300,000 to $700,000. So this is a really great return on investment, similar to a ski hill providing employees and family members with ski passes. For interest holder engagement, the candidates engaged in our hiring process provided us with consistent feedback about health and dental benefits in particular, being something that would have increased their consideration of our temporary positions. And then for employee passes, we had employee feedback gathered through exit interviews and our recent employee engagement survey, where there was a consistent highlight for the desire for increased recreational and wellness benefits. And departing employees frequently cited free fitness center access and discounted recreation programs, even particularly for families, as key items that would have made our benefits more rewarding and immediately valuable. So just reinforcing that wellness and livability initiatives impact engagement, satisfaction, and retention. Additionally, the HR department worked with the recreation department to understand revenue, administration, and implementation implications, and to ensure that there was support for this initiative. So that concludes my presentation. I'm sure there will be questions. Ready.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sauvé. Councillor Ma, you have a question.
Thank you for your presentation, Ms. Sauvé. With regards to the current status quo with the elevation place membership discount, what is it for employees again?
40% right
40%.
now.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and it only applies to the employee currently.
That's right.
Yeah. And at one point you mentioned there was perhaps some data that showed that people were using their HCSA to support other fitness initiatives within town. Do you have any data to clarify that, or amounts, or evidence of that?
Yeah, we don't track what we actually use for, so I did check in with our team who enter it. They say they see them every month.
Okay.
Employees are claiming them, but I can't tell you what the number is.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Any other questions? Councillor Faubert.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Ms. Sauvé. Do we know how many employees take advantage of the membership at Elevation Place currently?
I don't know what the exact number for that is. No,
Okay.
but we can get it. Yeah.
Councillor Hillstead.
Thank you. With the Elevation Pass membership, are programs also discounted, or is that just a normal, how does that work? Like,
No, we're not currently requesting any access to discounted programs. That would be separate, but the pass does include like drop-in public skating and shinny. Those items are in there.
I think Sean's in there.
Mr. Mackay.
I just wanted to confirm that anyone who holds a recreation membership, so whether it's the Go Beyond or the Aquatics or the Arena, would access a 20% discount on all recreation courses. So just to confirm that.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Councillor Hillstead, anything else? Or?
That was, because, yeah, I thought that there was, if you had a membership there, you got some discount. I just wasn't sure what the actual discount was. And if we've looked at, if we were to go to the free route, would we, potentially basically just make a new membership class of basically employee thing, and then say that, programs are no longer discounted just because you're getting the benefit of having access to the facility. But again, the programs, I think, again, to encourage our staff to, go to local businesses for other activities and things. If there's no discount on the programs, that might incentivize them to maybe go to Elevation Place for things like the pool, where that's the only place in town to go. But for other programs like spin classes, yoga, you name it, like if we didn't do a discount there, it might just, again, keep our business community, give them a fair shake at it, just because, again, I know there are some concerns from business providers that, if this happens, is their business going to dry up because now everyone's just going to Elevation Place? So I know that was a concern when Elevation Place first opened, and I'm sure those concerns still go on today. So just wanted to flush that out a little bit.
Yeah. Just in general numbers, how many memberships do we have at Elevation Place? Mr. Mackay?
It does flux through the year, and so generally, I would say around 3,000.
3,000. And how many employees do we have at the town of Canmore? I know it fluctuates seasonally as well. So just generally, what's the range that we're looking at, the numbers?
We are during our summer season at about 400.
Okay, 400 in the summer season, and it reduces.
To about 315, between 315, or sorry,
Yeah.
325 and 350 in the.
Okay, so 325 to 400. So just to give us a sense of scope, we're talking about 10 to 13%, something like that, of total memberships, if all town employees had memberships, but not all town employees have memberships. So it's some amount less than that. Okay. Dr. Cottle, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I guess it's just nuance, but some employees already have memberships, so that number won't change. And there are employees, some of whom may live in a community like Banff, for example, who don't have an interest in having a membership here. So it doesn't mean that we're going to move to 100%.
Yeah.
We expect the increase to actually be quite small.
Yeah. Okay. Small increase. Okay, great. Thank you. Councillor Ma.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I thank Councillor Hillstead for talking about some of the things in the past. Remember in 2015, I was part of one of those private fitness businesses that faced significant hardship as Elevation Place was in its infancy, as it was trying to figure out how it was going to run. It led to a lot of sleepless nights and hundreds of hours of trying to figure it out. And we did come up to a certain point where we could find things to work. has there been any discussions with the private fitness business community about this proposal at all?
Not from me.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. I don't see any other questions. All right then, I'll move that council approve the benefits policy HR-001 amended as presented. And Councillor Ma, you have an amending motion.
Yes, Your Worship.
Go ahead.
Ms. Hyde, is it possible to get it up on the screen? No problem.
There we go. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. So basically, my amending motion, it's effective October 19th, 2025. The town will provide all employees with the option to receive a discounted 40% elevation place membership up to the same status as their health and dental benefits, single, couple, and family. So I think one of the challenges currently is that if you are an employee of the town and you have family members, you're only getting a discount for yourself. So this opens up the umbrella, so if someone has a family and they work for the town, everyone under that umbrella can have access to the membership. I also think this strikes an interesting balance in terms of preventing various unintended consequences when it comes to how Elevation Place works in the context of the broader fitness community. Speaking to other people that I know that have owned businesses in this field, it's been a rough go. The pandemic was pretty hard on things. A lot of these businesses are just trying to dig themselves out of the weeds. And I think this allows that sort of situation where town staff have a broader access to a benefit, and at the same time, it also allows like a healthy ability for the other businesses to operate. And you know, it's the sort of thing, if we want to change this in the future, we can bump that up, seeing what the knock-on effects are. But I do feel it's easier to slowly grow something as it is to as opposed to the initial situation back in 2015 where things went so far out the other way, and to bring it back. So those are my thoughts. I hope my fellow councillors would support, but also happy to have further discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, we have an amending motion on the table. Councillor Ma, would anyone like to speak to the amending motion? Councillor Faubert.
Yes, thank you to Councillor Ma for bringing this motion forward. I appreciate where he's coming from. I'm not in favor at this time because I feel that it's my responsibility here to make decisions about the town of Canmore as a corporation and as an employer and as an entity that has to recruit and retain staff and is also located in the most expensive housing and affordability market in all of Alberta. I think that a comprehensive benefits and compensation package is something that makes us more competitive. It also is a return on investment, is negligible. It's a small amount of. Okay, I think I'm getting into debating the main motion, and I want to stick to what I want to talk to, which is the amending motion. I think that this, while I appreciate the intent, I'm not sure that by moving towards maintaining just a discounted rate and then opening it up to dependents, that actually achieves the outcomes of increased livability, increased affordability, increased better relationships, and supports for our staff. I think that balancing the needs of what we need to do as an organization to create a competitive benefits and compensation package with our responsibility to the private businesses in the community who offer fitness is a delicate, to me, that's a really complex scale to be putting things on, because I'm not sure that everything is on the scale appropriately. And I think that in the long run, the numbers are going to be much smaller, and the actual impact of doing a full membership will actually achieve. It's not about who we have working here now, as much as it is all of the future that we have to build together. And it's that recruitment part as well. I think that by offering something much more competitive, we will see less staff turnover and a better results on trying to attract people into our organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm going to speak in the same vein. I do appreciate the trying to find some compromise with this, and you certainly have been a champion for protecting private providers, Councillor Ma. However, when I take a look at this issue, I see that there's three groups of employees. I see that there's those that have already bought a pass for themselves, and this will actually just then be a financial benefit to them, which theoretically, to the amount of $75,000, could be used to access private providers. Then there's those that don't have a pass, maybe because they can't even afford the 40% discount and would like to join. Those are not likely the ones that are going to be going to private providers as well. And so this may be an opportunity for them to get some access to things that would be provided at Elevation Place that they otherwise are not having in their lives. Then there's those that do not have the pass, they can afford it, but they're already choosing not to do that. If they get a free pass, they very well may be the group that is not going to be utilizing it that much anyway, because they could have afforded to do so. And therefore, it's not likely to change their patterns. So I do believe that the rationale, as Dr. Cottle had mentioned, is strong, that this would actually only see a small increase in number of users. But the small increase in users does not discount the big impact that it can have on potential attracting and retaining employees. I believe that it is a perk that has great return on investment. We have to work very hard in our atmosphere, and having been recently at gatherings of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, as well as Mid-Sized Cities Mayor's Caucus, one of the things that's a concern for those who have encountered it and for those who are trying to avoid it is offering a very competitive package and avoiding unionization. That is going to be a huge cost and an unnecessary cost if we continue to provide a great package and a great working environment for all of our employees without going that route. And I do not believe, given the numbers involved, that it will hurt local business. So I'm more inclined to go with the free membership as recommended. Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Councillor Hillstead.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm on the fence on this one. I can see both sides of it. I know for myself, I recently went and got an elevation pass, and I've used it once since then, and it's been a couple months. So you're also going to get those people that they'll get the pass with all intention to use it, and they still won't, because I am living proof. But Yeah, this one I'm still mulling it. Like, I understand that there could be some unintended consequences. Same time, with 300 to 400 staff, some that already have membership, like, it might not be as great. Yeah, I'm still mulling this one about a bit, but thank you for bringing this forward.
Anyone else wishing to speak to the amending motion? Councillor Graham.
Just, I think one point to Councillor Faubert's discussion, and that's, you know, we're not just beholden to the corporation, but to the community as a whole. We need to make decisions in the best interest of the whole community. I'll let Councillor Mara go from here.
Councillor Mara is not indicated. Councillor Mara, I guess you have succumbed to the pressure of your peer.
Yeah, no, I was going to speak to it. Yes, I'm sort of in the same mindset. We are looking here at giving a 40% discount. I think any little bit, as we've always discussed when it came to transit, free fair transit, all the different things that we've come to, every little bit helps in affordability. And yes, we do represent the whole community as a whole. So I'm in that mindset where, yes, it supports our employees, and yes, this does help a bit. But as a community as a whole, and it's taxpayers' dollars, is it? Or is it employee dollars? I'm just putting that through my head right now. So if anyone else wants to speak to it.
Okay, Councillor Faubert.
Yeah, I think there are a few things to keep in mind too. One is that it's just it's just lost non-collected revenue, right? Not in the sense that we don't have to spend any taxpayers' money on anything for this. Not us, right? These services and these programs already exist. We provide them. In fact, it's the employees that we have on our staff who provide them, right? So that already exists. So it's just deferred revenue. It is a very small number of people, and not even all the number of people who this would even affect to make a different decision or a different choice in life would make this choice. And then two, we are community leaders. Yes, we are elected to make decisions for the entire community, but we also have a fiduciary responsibility as a board of directors for this corporation as well. And I believe that the return on investment in this is incredible. I understand the concern. I just don't think it actually, going the full way with this, I do not believe will result in the unintended consequences that there are concerns about. Because I believe that people are because our staff numbers compared to our population, compared to already the number of people using Elevation Place, compared to the fact that out there are also people who are choosing private recreation because they prefer that over Elevation Place as well, right? So I'm not sure that this change in our policy creates a matrix that's going to fundamentally change the number of people who are paying for services from private recreation providers. I do not believe that's going to happen in any way whatsoever. What I do believe is going to happen is that our greatest resource and asset as a community and as a corporation, the people who work for us, who go above and beyond and show up all the time and just deliver, their lives they have something more. And then when we go out into the world and we try to say to people, come work for us, come and live in our community, which is wonderful, but the hurdle is just how expensive it is. Here's one way we can make it a little less expensive for you. And that to us as a corporation is huge. And I don't think that outwardly facing, it's as big of a deal in people's daily lives in terms of the community members and how our community functions. To me, this decision in front of us is a human resources policy, not a we shouldn't compete with the private sector policy. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. It differentiates from the issues of the past. And our rec programs are, for the most part, self-sustaining. And so it isn't that revenue element. It really is about HR and the ability for our employees to be attracted, retained, and be able to afford to be here. Councillor Ma to close.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for everyone speaking passionately. I know some people are trying to minimize the impact. I have the lived experience from 2014, 2015 that I would not be here in town anymore if things had gone the way they went. So I feel this here opens it up and expands the benefit to the employees. I think the other parts through the policy that have been brought forth by admin are great. I think this opens it up to the family level. And like I said, we can always like move and expand down the road, but I think this is a good step. I've seen unintended consequences before, and it nearly, well, I wouldn't be here if that had gone that way. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Well, I have no idea which way this amending motion is going to go. That was to close, Councillor Graham, but would you like to speak?
No, I'm going to ask for 5 minutes though.
Okay.
I know there's a gallery full of people. My apologies, but I'm going to ask for 5 minutes.
All right. We will take a 5-minute break. I will grant that. We'll return at 11:34, and let's not be past that so we can keep things moving. To let me know when we're streaming again. Okay. Okay, we're back from our break. And we have an amending motion on the table. And we've all spoken to it, so I'm now gonna, the amending motion is to change basically from free to a discount of 40%, brought by Councillor Ma. And so I will call all those in favor of the amending motion. Yeah, calling the question then, all those in favor of the amending motion? Okay, all those opposed? The amending motion is defeated with Councillors Ma and Mera in favor. And so now we're back to the main motion, which is not amended. Are there any other amendments that anyone's wishing to bring? No? Then speaking to the motion, which is approval of the policy, Councillor Faubert.
Yes. I think that this, I spoke to it a bit earlier, but one of the things that I've noticed is just, we are a high-performing municipality. We do amazing things. Our staff are incredible, and this is also one of the most expensive communities to live in. I believe that this policy, this benefits policy, along with the policy we passed last week with respect to our compensation package, which kept it at a 55th percentile, which to me, these two things go together, right? So like the rationale behind the 55th percentile along with this benefits policy creates to me what I think is a very fulsome and competitive, comprehensive benefits and compensation package that is really important for our staff who are here now in terms of retention, and it's really important going into the future in terms of recruitment, which has been challenging given the affordability issues in our community. I also really appreciate the information provided around what other municipalities are doing and that we're not alone or would not be alone in going towards a benefits policy that does provide a recreation access at this level for staff and their dependents. I think that the cost is minimal. It actually doesn't actually cost anything. It's just not collecting some revenue potentially. And I think that the impacts on the community will be minimal. And I appreciate the debate of my colleagues on this issue. Thank you.
Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Your Worship. Attracting good people is our number one job, and having good people here to make good decisions is incredibly important, and the return on that investment is worthwhile. I won't at all minimize the impacts that decisions that we make have on other parts of the community. It will have, the degree in which that is there is debatable, but I think it's very cognizant to council and administration to very much keep in mind the private sector and the decisions we make that have impacts on them. And that was a tough one for me, and I appreciate the debate. Anybody that says Councillor Ma and I always vote the same, I'll highlight this moment in time.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else wishing to speak? Councillor Ma.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I appreciate the debate. I'll probably be struggling to support this one piece. However, I do feel all the work done, especially the expanded benefits for temporary employees, that is fantastic stuff. I just have concerns with this. And so please know that I value employees. I value affordability. If one looks at my business, it is a part of the whole FCCS program. And so that's just putting a little bit of foresight towards where my head is at. But I do want to say I value our staff, and I think there's been a lot of good stuff here. There's just some stuff here that I have, from my past lived experience, some serious trepidation with. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hillstead.
Thank you. I just want to thank for all the work that's gone into this, and for the very good debate that we've had on some of these key points. Again, our staff are, that's one of the many things that makes Canmore as great as it is. So I think, having a proper benefits policy to help retain staff and help get new staff as we need them, I think is important as well. I'm hoping that there won't be the unintended consequences, and that, but, well, time will tell with that, but this is important policy, and our staff are very important to everyone in our community, so I will be supporting.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Mera.
Thank you, and I thank you for bringing this forward and from HR. Thank you, Ms. I think we do a lot of great things for our staff and our community, and this is just one thing that was a struggle for me to do the balance, and I do appreciate, as we always say, our staff are our greatest asset. That's what makes our community work. So there's a lot we do and a lot we can do moving forward. So this will be something, if passed, will just be a little bit more benefit, but we continue to do the good work to support our staff. So, and thank you to our staff and to the HR committee.
Thank you, Councillor Mera. I'm going to speak in support of these policy changes. Just as a reminder, everyone, these changes are far more than increase to elevation place accessibility. And I don't expect it's going to be huge, but for those who will take it up, it will be a very big perk. But it's much more than that. It's updating the language. It is clarifying, with regards to our comparators. It's opens up for the less than 2-year employee, the temporary employees. It opens up for that. Overall, it makes a better package for our employees, both temporary and permanent. And it's for that reasons and those others who have spoken in favor of the policy that I will be supporting it. So with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries with Councillor Ma opposed. I'm now going to move that we move to item H5 right now in our agenda. So we will move H5 to between H1 and H2. The intent is still to try to finish before having to take a lunch break, but we have some wonderful people gathered, and let's move to that item right now. So the motion's on the table to bring H5 forward. Anyone wishing to speak to that motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, so we are going to now move to item H5, which I will first speak to and then call upon a member of the Canmore Sister City Committee. This item is about a sister city agreement between Sedona, Arizona, USA, and Canmore, Alberta, Canada. And before getting into it, obviously, Canadian-American relations are of utmost interest and concern this time. But I would like to draw or let people know of this wonderful panel that was just at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. And there were mayors there from Canada and the United States on this 6-person panel. And they were talking about the arrangements together and the importance of working together. And the silver lining of this whole tariff debate is that relationships between municipalities in the United States and Canada have never been stronger. We recognize that we have a lot of common interests, we have a lot of common goals, and that the tariffs, while there may be opposition to tariffs and there may be opposition to an approach by the current administration, it's not about disliking or not liking those on the north or south side of the border, our longest undefended border in the world. And so in that context, I think that we need to keep moving forward with those things that bind us together, as well as those things that make us stronger as a country. And one of the things that bind us together is sharing culturally with others. And just to set the context for this very specific decision, A couple years back, a contingent from Sedona contacted me to have a discussion. I had no idea what they wanted to talk about. But in our conversation, which lasted about an hour, we all walked away just marveling at the incredible alignment and similarities between our communities. Limited footprint, high value of arts and outdoor activities, being situated close to protected areas, and high tourist population, roughly about the same size, common language, common cultural objectives and priorities. So it was just one thing after the other. Then my spouse and I, we traveled down in order that I could talk specifically with the community there and get an understanding from their administration, their council, as to how they are approaching sister cities, because it's very important that we have learned from our past relationships, that we learn from the lessons that those relationships provided. And those lessons were this: that in order to be sustainable, a sister city relationship must be driven by the community and not by elected officials, which change over time. They also must ensure that they have similar expectations as to what a sister city relationship means to the participating communities. Failing to have similar expectations inevitably results in frustration, disappointment, and stress in the relationship. Sister city relationships should not be dependent upon funding from the municipality. And finally, while some endorsement by a municipality may be required from time to time, such as entering into a friendship agreement as we have done, or endorsing a sister city agreement, the heart of the relationship resides between grassroots organizations and residents of the respective communities, and not the political or administrative levels of municipalities. And Mayor Jablo and other councillors, as well as the organizers, were all on exactly that page. And so I felt very comfortable coming back here and reaching out to our community to see if there is interest. I reached out to various not-for-profit organizations, various individuals, just to determine if anybody wanted to take this. Because as I mentioned, this should not be driven by a political figure. So there was interest, and there was people willing to step up. And so the Canmore committee was formed, and in particular, Mr. Rob Seeley and his colleagues stepped forward to organize and continue those conversations with the Sedona group. And so it's in that context that I am very happy to invite Mr. Seeley to come forward and share about the current status of the relationship and what is being asked for and what we are to consider today. So, Mr. Seeley, welcome to council. Whenever you're ready, the microphone is yours.
Mayor Crowsert, members of council, thank you for this opportunity today. I'm here on behalf of the Canmore-Sedona Friendship Committee to respectfully request that the town of Canmore formalize our relationship with Sedona, Arizona by establishing an official sister city partnership. Let me begin by introducing the Canmore-Sedona Working Group. Heather Walter, Janet Crowsert, Linda Damon, and Secretary Martin Buckley. Ann Walton sends her regrets. And we have some special visitors here. They came specially for this meeting, Dale and Janet from Sedona. Thanks for being here today. The mission of Arizona Sister Cities is clear and compelling, bringing the world together one friendship at a time. This vision traces back to 1956 when then President Eisenhower founded Sister Cities International, global initiative to foster peace and mutual understanding through the grassroots people-to-people relationships. This mission feels more relevant today than ever before. In 1884, Canadian Pacific Railway surveyors named the majestic mountain peak overlooking our valley, Castle Mountain. After World War II in 1946, it was renamed Mount Eisenhower. And it was in 1979, it was the original name Castle Mountain was restored, representing a respectful balance between heritage and acknowledgement. Its prominent feature remains known today as Eisenhower Tower. This story, rooted in our region's landscape, reflects how even remote mountain communities can be shaped by global events. It offers meaningful backdrop as we take the next step in international friendship. My first visit to Sedona, I felt a powerful sense of familiarity, not just the stunning natural surroundings, but in the spirit of the place and its people. Like Canmore, Sedona draws those who are seeking something deeper, connection to the land, to wellness, to a strong, vibrant community. These are not places people stumble upon. These are places that people seek out with intention, and once found, often choose to call home. There is a shared energy between our towns, a respect for nature, a culture of health and creativity, and a deep-rooted sense of belonging. That's the foundation of this journey and the heart of our sister city connection. A couple of years ago, Janet Krauser visited the Rotary Club of Canmore, accompanied by Chuck Marr, Sedona's Sister Cities program, or chair of Sedona's Sister Cities program. During that visit, Chuck publicly expressed Sedona's interest of establishing a sister city relationship with Canmore, a moment that sparked the beginning of this shared journey. Soon after, I joined the journey. At the time, Chuck was president-elect of the Rotary Club of Sedona Village, and I was the president-elect of the Rotary Club of Canmore. Along with fellow Rotarian Martin Buckley, we were invited to attend the Sedona International Film Festival. There we met with Sedona's community leaders and sister city members who generously shared their enthusiasm and vision for what this partnership could become. Upon return to Canmore, we began to lay the groundwork. With Chuck's guidance, we formed a local friendship committee and held a series of in-person meetings in Canmore, along with hybrid sessions that included our friends in Sedona. These gatherings brought clarity and momentum to our shared vision, establishing a strong foundation and deepening the community connections on both sides. In 2024, we presented our proposal to the Canmore Council, recommending the establishment of a formal friendship agreement. Council unanimously supported this initiative on May 19th, 2024, and the agreement was officially signed at Arts Place. Since then, we've continued to build momentum through a series of collaborative initiatives between our communities, details of which are included in your council package. These efforts have further strengthened the foundation we have laid. Today, we seek your support to take the next step to formally designate Canmore and Sedona as official sister cities. If council approves, we plan a joint signing ceremony and declaration with both mayors present in Canmore on June 28th, 2025, hosted by the Canmore Library. This partnership is a vibrant expression of friendship and collaboration. It's about nurturing cultural understanding, creating opportunities for youth and community exchange, and celebrating the shared values our mountain towns hold dear: sustainability, creativity, and connection. So now I'd like to play a video. Before we play the video though, this really encapsulates everything that we've done, the history of where we started and where we're going to. So Sedona did a very good job, so I'd like you to watch the video.
So I'm just going to, thank you. I'm just going to ask, do we need the owl hooked up in order to be able to hear it?
I'm attached, so here's hoping.
Okay, we're good to go. All right. Thank you. Good job. Thank you.
Oh, yes, thank you.
I'd also like to welcome Sedona, who's live streaming today.
Okay, excellent, yes.
All right, and I'm open to any questions.
Yeah, hello to Sedona. Well, my first question, actually my only question is, has this been before Sedona Council?
It has unanimously approved in May.
Great, thank you very much. Now I'll open it up to members of council. Do you have any questions? Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I guess the elephant in the room on this one is the current administration of the U.S. and the current state of international politics between Canada and the United States. Many of us, myself included, I didn't travel to the U.S. during the Trump administration, the first Trump administration. I have no plans to go for the second Trump administration. And I wonder if within these exchanges, what will those look like at this point in time? Has there been discussions around those?
Well, I'll address the elephant in the room, maybe, and you can ask questions once I go through the information. So it's important to address this, and as a committee, we've talked about it. And is this the time? It's exactly the right time for this. What we're proposing isn't a political relationship. It's not about governments or administrations. It's about people-to-people relationship. One based on friendship, critical understanding, and a desire to build something positive together. Sister Cities movement began after World War II. The world was hurting and divided. Its purpose was simple but powerful, not through politics, but through human connection. Sedona approached us 3 years ago. The political climate was very different then. But their message hasn't changed. They've been generous, kind, and deeply respectful. They want to be friends. This is for the long term. They're our kind of people. So we need to think about the long game. Political leadership comes and goes, but this relationship, this bond can endure. It's a symbol of hope, a commitment to building understanding despite the noise of politics. This is a chance to show that we chose connection over division, understanding over fear, and community over politics. I believe that this message matters more now than ever.
Thank you, Mr. Seeley. I wholeheartedly agree.
Okay, thanks.
Excellent answer. Any other questions? I don't see any. So thank you very much. And with that then, I'm going to move that Canmore Council designate and approve an official sister city status between Sedona, Arizona, USA and Canmore, Alberta, Canada for the Canmore Sedona Sister City Association, and move to have it formalized by Mayor Sean Krausert on June 28, 2025, with a signing event to be held in Canmore and streamed to Sedona. In speaking in support of this motion, in addition to what I said before, I think it's important to note that this is about supporting our community. It's supporting our community's efforts and desires to connect with Sedona. And in doing so, endorsing that relationship, that cross-border relationship, for all the reasons that Mr. Seeley spoke to very eloquently. And so I'd ask that you please support this motion. Councillor Mera.
Thank you. I'm happy to support this sister friendship agreement. I know it meets one of our strategic goals, relationships, and that was not limited to borders. I know I was involved pre-COVID on a trip to Truckee, California. We went to go down there where we were asked to do the same thing, but unfortunately COVID happened. And I still had some conversations with the councillor of the day back then for many years after the fact. Unfortunately, he had to move from his community because they got priced out of the community. So I would like to thank the Canmore Sedona Sister City Committee for all the work you've done on this, and I look forward to a long relationship with the sister city once it's approved, I hope, and signed, and look forward to any ideas that we share between our two communities. So thank you for all your work you've done.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ma.
Thank you, Worship. I've been to Sedona twice. Some of the best mountain biking I've seen has been in Sedona. Some amazing trails. There's a great restaurant down there called Pagazzo's, and I don't even like pizza, and they did a great job with their pizza. And the people there are super lovely. And so the people that worked on getting us to this point, thank you so much for your hard work. It's not easy to do this sort of stuff, and I think this is going to be a great fit. And I'm kind of looking forward to learning what Sedona has to show us, and back and forth. That's transfer of knowledge. And I really, really hope that this relationship outlasts the current Trump administration's rhetoric on making us the 51st state, so that we can just get back to being really great friends. So thank you for being part of this. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Worship. I'll speak in favor. And as most people know, I'm a pretty principled person often. And what's going on currently is really hard for a lot of people, a lot of Canadians. And I think this is really important times to have these citizen-to-citizen and municipality-to-municipality type relationships. And even though we may have differences with higher levels of government or different levels of government, and these relationships should go past those sorts of things. If people were to judge us on our current governments all the time, and those differences in ideology, that would be yet a little bit more divided than we currently are. And I think we need to move more in that other direction these days. Not everybody's going to even agree with this council, surprisingly. So, I hope that this helps bring people together. And even though my personal choices are not to visit the United States, and I think that's many Canadians right now, I look forward to a further, longer lasting relationship that builds on the differences that we currently have. And thank you for bringing it forward.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hillstead.
Thank you. I'm happy to support. Again, as this is really coming out of our two communities, it's not being driven by the political group of the day. It is a community endeavor, and I think that's really awesome. And I think there's been so much work put into this, and I just want to thank both community groups for doing all this work and bringing this sister city agreement together. And I hope it lasts a long time and we see good things from both cities.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ma, did you want to add something further?
Yeah, just one more thing I forgot to put in my previous point. Folks in Sedona, if you're curious about coming up to Canmore, please come up. We would love to have you here. We'll treat you with open arms and just give you a great time. Because when I've been down to Sedona, you guys are reciprocated, and I've always had a really lovely welcome there. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Anyone else wishing to speak to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. All right. And I would like to say, for all those gathered and for those streaming from Sedona, this is a really good news story in a time when good news is needed. And so thank you for all of your efforts, and I look forward to the signing event, seeing Mayor Jablo in person again, and that's on June 28th at the library. Do we have the time specified? I know it's in my calendar. I could put
6 o'clock. The signing will take place around 4:30.
Okay, so at the library, signing at 4:30, but the event's between 4 and 6. So anyone wishing to come and see that, you're more than welcome. All right. Yes, and all of council will get an invite. So thank you. I'm just going to take a 1-minute break in case there's going to be some movement around if you'd like to be leaving. You're, of course, welcome to stay as we finish up our business of the day.
Lots of change happening at Walmart right now.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Hyde?
The goggles is great.
Ms. Hyde, we're still streaming, is that correct? All right. Well, thank you everyone for that brief break. We're now going to return to the order of our agenda with H2, which is Entrance Features in Municipal Right-of-Way Policy, ENG-002. And Mr. Kinsey, welcome to council, and the microphone is yours.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Brian Kinsey. I'm the Acting Manager of Engineering, and I'm here today to present to you on the amended policy for entrance features in municipal road rights-of-way. This is titled Policy ENG-002, formerly PD-014, as it's been moved from Planning and Development to the Engineering Department. In my presentation, I'll just provide a brief overview of the main changes. So to begin, the intention of this policy is to provide guidance to administration and applicants on the application and approval process for entrance features within municipal road rights-of-way. Why is a revision of this policy considered necessary? It was implemented several years ago, and through administration of this policy, been a number of improvements that have been identified. Some of those include improved clarity for the process related to each stage of planning development, which I'll get into further, to clarify submission requirements, align with land use bylaw requirements for signage, to provide clarification on approving authority, and finally to ensure that a lasting entity exists to maintain the entrance feature. So I'll go through each of these points in the next slides. In terms of process clarity, previously the policy addressed area redevelopment plans and area structure plans. The policy has now been revised to address conceptual scheme, subdivision, and development permit, as these are the most appropriate stages in the planning process to address entrance features. In terms of application requirements then, for each of these three planning stages, we've identified the documents that the applicant must provide. So at the conceptual scheme stage, which is the highest of the three in the planning hierarchy, the applicant must identify a location, provide some conceptual road cross-sections showing where the feature would be located, and some professional renderings showing what the feature would look like. At subdivision stage, they'd be required to provide detailed drawings and landscape drawings, and also tie this back to the road cross-section. So again, we can evaluate where these features are in relation to things like underground utilities. The last process, development permit. So if there is an application where, which was not preceded by conceptual scheme and subdivision, a development permit application can be made, in which case they would need to provide all of these documents. In terms of land use bylaw alignment, so for all 3 stages, the policy document now makes clarification that at any stage of planning, any signage that's proposed must comply with land use bylaw regulations for signage. In terms of authorities and responsibilities, we have 3 different categories. So it is now clarified that the subdivision or development authority, depending on the type of application, they're the authority responsible for reviewing applications. This was previously the CAO. In terms of decisions, also was previously the CAO in the old policy. In the new policy, it is now the general manager of municipal infrastructure or the manager of planning and development. Should there be a dispute on a decision that's been rendered, previously the policy asked council to make a decision on those disputes. This has now been transferred to the CAO. Lasting entity, so it's important if these features are constructed in municipal road right-of-way that we have a relationship with an entity that endures. And so this policy revision makes clarifications in that regard. So now, if such a feature is approved, the applicant must enter into an agreement with the town, and that agreement will contain a clause that specifies that should there be a future entity, that be identified. So one example could be a homeowner association or a condo board. So that's the end of the presentation. The recommendation is that council approve the entrance features and municipal rights of way, policy ENG 002, amended as presented, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kinsey. Looking to council to see if there are any questions. I don't see any.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So as recommended then, I will move that council approve the entrance features and municipal rights of way policy ENG-002 amended as presented. Would anyone like to speak to this motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you for the work done in this regard. I'm just confirming everyone's happy to just move through rather than come back for an item or two. Okay, so let's move forward with H3, Sustainability Screening Policy, PD-012 Repeal. Mr. Schneider, welcome back to the microphone.
There we go. Great. Planning opened the council meeting and planning will close the council meeting. So I'm here to speak to 2 policies which we believe, and this council should be familiar with these policies from the staff workshop that was held towards the end of February, that these can be changed and we can reflect current situations and how they were being applied. So the first one is the sustainability screening policy. This has been in effect for some time, and the idea behind it was to create a triple bottom line for Canmore's community, economic, and environmental objectives, which are referenced in the MDP and also the land use bylaw. We're recommending that this be rescinded. Basically, the contents of the sustainability checklist, while they are submitted as part of a development or a larger statutory plan application, they really haven't been consistently applied over the last few years as part of application review. And with the exception of green building targets, they really haven't formed part of approval conditions. What we have been doing in the meantime, and this is espoused in the land use bylaw, is that we have been looking at promoting green buildings through other means, and that's basically to lower the amount of development securities that have to be held with the town through this. These are more targeted in their application, and they're more objective as well. They're not really subjective in their application. Either something meets it or it doesn't. So for this, and I'll halt if council wants to deal with these one at a time. But our recommendation for policy PD 012 is to rescind without a replacement mechanism. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider. Yes, let's deal with one at a time. So first of all, any questions on this recommendation? No? Okay, then I am going to move the council repeal sustainability screening policy PD-012. And in speaking in support of this motion, I recognize that the SSR has some admirable objectives and was an attempt to achieve meeting those objectives. However, the application and the practical aspect of it is difficult, and it also isn't, you know, it's very tough to follow up with. It's been more of a timely and sometimes costly endeavor for the development or the developer or applicant than the actual benefits received by it. And so I've been in favor of moving away from this policy for some time, and I'm happy to speak to this motion today. Councillor Faubert.
Thank you, Your Worship. I too am speaking in favor of this. It's been a long journey with the sustainability screening report, and I want to think that, and I want to just argue that what we have learned and what it has given us is really valuable. Even though as a tool or in a mechanism as it was originally envisioned hasn't worked out in the end, what it has allowed us to do is really focus our minds around the original concept of understanding the net benefit of any individual project to our community. And over time, one of the things that we really struggle with, and I think that it is not within our jurisdiction, is the fact that green building standards and the building code is not set by us. And so I'm really grateful that we had the sustainability screening report, because it's brought us to today where I believe we have really progressive green building regulations that are based on incentives, which is all we have to offer to achieve the outcomes that we want for a better future and better built form, which helps achieve our climate goals. And so I know that may not have been what the SSR was about, but for me, that was my SSR journey, and I'm grateful for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else wishing to speak to this motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Mr. Schneider, now moving on to collection of fees and levies policy PD-001 repeal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This policy has been in effect for some time, and it has become dated in the types of fees and levies that are being collected. So, for example, the policy references the recreation contribution, which is no longer being collected as part of a development approval. The policy is very prescriptive with respect to the timing and the structure of payments for things like off-site levies or cash in lieu of parking. The idea behind it is if a developer wishes to defer payment of either off-site levies or cash in lieu, they can do it on a 25% at the time of signing of the development agreement, 50% on the first anniversary, and then the final 25% either at the second anniversary or when they seek an occupancy permit for the project, whichever comes first. What we noticed in discussions with industry is that they're looking for a little bit more flexibility in coming forward. And we did have one instance of a Calgary developer who is now under construction within the Three Sisters area, where we had to bring a request forward from them to seek an exemption from the policy. What we're proposing to do with this is to replace the existing council policy with a corporate directive that would be approved by CST. At the moment, CST has not given final approval of it. However, I have been in discussions with obviously with Ms. Smithers about the implementation of this. The corporate directive will allow administration to enter into discussions about an alternative structuring of levies. However, it will not allow for a reduction in the amount of levies to be collected. Only if they wish to, for example, to do it over 5 years as opposed to 2, then we can contemplate that. The approving authority for these requests would go to CST, and so this is something that council won't need to concern itself with. So our recommendation here is that the existing PD 001 fees and levies collection policy be rescinded, and then and to direct administration to work with CST to approve a replacement corporate directive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider. So I do have a question for Dr. Cottle. So the motion on the screen is different than the one in the package. It adds on that with CST to approve a replacement corporate directive. Is that the preference to go with the one on the screen?
It should be the one in the package. I appreciate what Mr. Snyder is doing, but it should just be the one in the package. I think the intent is that council knows that CST will approve a corporate directive.
Great, thank you. I think that's a good path forward. Any questions, Mr. Schneider, with regards to the repeal of this policy? So, Councillor Graham.
So just a little clarity then. So this policy will not come back to council for?
No, corporate directives don't come to council for approval. That's the different levels. Policy is approved by council, corporate directives are approved by CST. And then there's the guidelines are the next level as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none then, I move that council repeal collection of levies and fees policy PD-001. Would anybody like to speak to this motion? I will speak in favor because I appreciate the flexibility and the greater number of situations that it can respond to in order to meet the needs, the current needs of the industry as the things are built. Councillor Hillstad.
I will be in support of this motion. Again, this is very administrative, and council, we still get to do the big things like the offsite levy bylaw and master fee schedule, which influence these directives. So there's still council control at a higher level, but this just gives some more, just makes it easier for administration to administer the final product. So
Thank you for that. And Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Your Worship. I too will be voting in support or speaking in support. You know, having policies like this instead of them coming to council for one ad hoc, you all know what I mean. That may not be consistent across applications. You know, I'm a big fan of consistency, and this brings it. So,
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else wishing to speak to this motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. And we'll move to our last item, which is item H6, which is the Forest Resource Improvement Association of Alberta Regional FireSmart Coordinator Funding Grant. Yes. Deputy Chief Borgon, welcome to council. You can proceed whenever you're ready. There we go.
Good afternoon, Council. Mike Borgon from Administration, just here to present some FRIA funding opportunities. This is for the FireSmart program. It's a joint initiative between the town of Canmore, the MD of Bighorn, and the Kananaskis Improvement District. We are seeking your support to apply for a grant that would fund a dedicated regional FireSmart coordinator. The grant is for $200,000 over 2 years. If it's approved, it would be fully funding a new position, which is a regional FireSmart coordinator. This will support wildfire preparedness, mitigation, and public education throughout our region. The position would be based in Canmore, but it will serve all 3 municipalities. This builds on a long track of successful FRIA grants dating back to 2007. It also aligns directly with our Climate Emergency Action Plan, and it does that by enhancing FireSmart development guidelines, exploring broader wildfire protection strategies, and coordinating regional efforts more effectively. The position salary and program delivery costs are covered by the grant. Our estimated contributions include hard costs like a laptop, software, and some in-kind resources like oversight and recruitment. The in-kind totals around $40,000. If approved, we will work with our regional partners to cover those costs. The recommendation, so just so you're aware, the application has been submitted, but due to the timeline, FRIA allows councils to submit supporting resolutions afterward. Today I'm asking council to officially approve this resolution to complete our application, move this important regional initiative forward. I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Deputy Chief, and looking to council to see if there are any questions. I don't see any. Okay. That must mean your report was complete, answered all the questions. And so I will move the council direct administration to apply for the Forest Resource Improvement Association of Alberta, FRIA, FireSmart Regional Coordinator Grant in partnership with the MD of Bighorn and Kananaskis Improvement District. Every step we take along the way to enhance our ability to respond to and deal with wildfire wherever it comes from, and especially working with our partners, our neighboring municipalities, is something that is very much appreciated and something that we need to grasp every potential opportunity before us, and so I very much support this grant. Councillor Ma.
Thank you, Worship. Happy to support. There's been a big rise, I feel, recently in FireSmart awareness within the community. There have been the various community champions that are coming out from various neighborhoods, and having a coordinator to help amplify those efforts, plus other things, would be just very, very helpful as we move forward into the various wildfire seasons to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else wishing to speak to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. And with that, I move that we adjourn. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone.